You want to talk some Star Trek?
Yeah, Star Trek.
So on the other show, did you guys talk about Discovery?
No, we just did
Okay.
Lower Decks Part 2. That was a while
Oh,
ago.
okay.
Yeah.
We can talk about that too. I love Lower Decks. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'll try and remember what
I have to
happened
pull up
because
my
I
Lower
watched it
Decks
like in
notes.
September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I still have my Lower Decks notes. I can find the.
I actually started rewatching season 1 last night because I rewatched Prodigy to write some notes down, and then when I got done with that, it's not very long. It's like 23-minute episodes. So when I got done with that, I was like, I'm gonna watch some Lower Decks again. Such a good show.
You know, maybe we should intro because we're ready to talk about Lower Decks already. Hello, Kit. How are you?
Hey, I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Thanks.
So I guess.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. I think we're doing carbon scoring right now, right? Or is this our Battlestar Galactica subpod or what?
Yeah.
It's just you and me today, bud.
So say we too.
So say we only. Yeah. We're having a special episode. This is not carbon scoring. It's not what would 33 minutes. That's our subpod for, because you have to do every Battlestar in 33 minutes. Yeah. This is not either of those. We're doing a Subspace transmission, you and me, because we've watched Star Trek Prodigy, and we started talking about Lower Decks.
Yeah. Well, with me, pretty much everything comes back to Lower Decks at this point. Eventually, because I love that show.
So. Well, what you were saying about it just now, before we officially started, was you come back to it and you think, oh, I could watch that. And I was describing to Ken, he was saying, oh, I haven't watched Discovery yet. I should watch Discovery. I said, no, don't start with Discovery. Like, I get that you want to participate in Star Trek again, but start with Lower Decks. It doesn't grab people as a Star Trek show because it's animated, which we'll get into in a minute with Prodigy. As a mainline Star Trek show, right? It's animated. It can't be the mainline. It's like, actually, hold on. It's a comedy, but also if you really from the TNG era, it has the same exact vibe of I could just turn this on at any point in time, almost any episode, and just chill with it. And the added bonus of it being very funny.
Yeah, it is a golden time for Star Trek animation right now.
I can't believe it. Just all of a sudden, with no Star Trek animation after 50 years, right? They did the 70s animation show. I've watched all of it. I'll never watch it again. I'm sure there are people out there that like Star Trek enough to watch it again, and I don't mean to dissuade you from doing so, but you might find Lower Decks more worth your rewatch time, in my opinion. It is. It's all of a sudden like, oh, we can animate stuff in space, and it might be pretty cool since we're already animating half of live action Star Trek.
It occurred to me last night as I was watching Prodigy that it seems odd to me that during the heyday of the 90s that there wasn't an animated show. That
I know
when they were making multiple live action shows at the same time and movies, that they didn't decide, hey, why don't we try an animated show, maybe geared at a little bit younger audience.
You're right. The theme of the 90s got progressively more, even almost dark in Star Trek, right? You get to Nemesis and that's a very dark story. Even the movie itself is just shot in the dark. It's like they put a night filter on it all the times, Yeah. DS9 gets progressively more adult as it goes on. Voyager gets progressively more adult as it goes on. I think you get to Enterprise and it's hopeful-ish again, but Enterprise didn't perform well enough for them to start thinking about more shows,
Right.
And it's unfortunate. I would have loved to have grown with a 1991 Star Trek animated TV series. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like maybe not Nickelodeon, but somewhere. It might have had to be Nickelodeon, honestly.
Well, and it was the 90s. Everything got a cartoon. Mortal Kombat had a Saturday morning kids cartoon, and I mean, like that makes no sense. So like, I mean,
Mortal
I don't know. It just
Kombat.
it never really occurred to me at the time, but
Yeah,
it seems odd in retrospect.
it definitely had that vibe of like Star Trek is the show for adults, right?
Yeah.
Um, 1991. I don't know why I picked that year, but we didn't have new Star Wars yet either. So
No, that was in right in the
2000.
middle of the yeah. Well, maybe the Zahn book.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember when
but
that came out, but yeah, I mean, basically nothing.
basically nothing except some video games.
Yeah.
Um, and weird, very weird to be sitting now and being like, wow, we went from Discovery to like a new golden age of animation for very strange, very strange. So Lower Decks, yeah, wonderful little show coming back in April, which is unfortunate to me.
Why?
I just wish I could have like 15 episodes instead of 10. They're very
Oh, I
short
see.
seasons, and then they take a long time to produce. And I don't begrudge that because it's high quality, but it just makes me sad that it goes away for so long.
Yeah.
But Prodigy. JJ's not going to watch Prodigy, so you watched it with me.
Out of curiosity, is it just because he doesn't want to watch it because it's for aimed at kids? Because it's a Nickelodeon thing?
I think it's just he watched the trailers for it and thought this isn't like his bag in terms of like that zone of things. I don't think he's ever watched the Avatar. In that it already exudes a little bit of that vibe from the Nickelodeon catalog of Avatar or the slightly older kids cartoons is
Yeah,
what
agreed.
it shines to me. And I don't think he takes a liking to any of that kind of animation. And I don't,
Fair enough.
it's, yeah, I mean, it's all genre specific, right? I don't go for horror movies very often, So people
Yeah.
eventually grow into their genres. And I think exposure can sometimes change your mind, right? Like I would not have picked Avatar unless someone told me that I respected was like, no, you really need to get past the first couple episodes. And I did. And I was like, okay, this is definitely a genre I enjoy. And so
Just,
yeah.
just by what I had seen, like the little bits of trailers and things, I didn't think that I was going to like Lower Decks. That didn't seem like something that would interest me. But then when you guys watched it and said how great it was, I went and watched it and gave it a try, and now I love it. So
Yeah, it's Lower Decks is weird because it gives you the Rick and Morty vibe in the trailers, right? They're only trying to show you the wacky hijinks, and they don't show you that the Star Trek glue is there. Whoever they have in that writer's room loves every aspect of Star Trek, right? And it
clearly, yeah, it's done lovingly, and you can tell that they have a deep knowledge and love for the material.
So Mike McCann sits there and plugs in the humor along the way of an actual Star Trek story. And that's the great part, I think, about Lower Decks. Very different for a Star Trek Prodigy.
Yes, totally different.
Not a comedy so much, maybe, in so much as they're trying for kids' laughs, and once in a while they get me to laugh. But let's get into it here.
Very much a Nickelodeon show, which
tweens. It's all about the tweens now.
Which I liked Avatar, so like that. This is something that I also enjoyed. I don't, like obviously not all of. I realize that this is for a younger audience, and not all of the humor is exactly what I'm looking for out of the show. But I don't mind it.
Yeah, I agree that not all the humor. I'm not super into when they're trying to make the kids laugh. That's to me kind of not that interesting. I'm trying to find the.
Yeah, but it's I just feel like it's a Nickelodeon show. They know their demographic that they're going after very, very well, and I'm sure that they know when they're supposed to put in some slapstick stuff or some stuff that's aimed at 11-year-olds.
Got to keep the kids interested.
Yeah,
they have a lot of good actors for this show, which surprised me. I mean, they pulled.
Yeah, I was surprised that they had John Noble doing the voice of the
Diviner.
diviner.
Yeah. I heard his voice and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And
Yeah.
I went back. I was like, yeah, it is John Noble. That's cool. And they've got Kate Mulgrew doing Janeway, and D. Bradley Baker does Murph for some reason. I don't know how he was like, yes, I want to make nothing other than noises for like every 5 minutes in every episode max.
Well, I mean, he's a very prolific voice actor, so he probably was able to squeeze it into a schedule and make a little bit of money.
And then you got Jason Mantzoukas backing up the cast just to give a silly voice to somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like that he says his own name. That's a weird.
Oh, Jenkum?
Jenkum.
Is that Jenkum? Yeah.
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 He's
and that's the only. None of these other races, other than humans, none of the other species are previously existing, other than the Tellarites, right?
I think the Tellarites are the only ones. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the only obviously Janeway, but
Janeway, but she's not technically there, obviously.
Yeah, but
spoilers.
The Tellarite was the only one. Yeah, the Tellarite was the only one that I recognized of any of the other races. So
I don't think that we've run into a single one so far, including. I thought for a minute Zero had been invented before, but then I looked it up, and I could not find another instance of what is she called, the Medusans. Yeah, I don't think I could find another use of the Medusans anywhere. So
yeah, I can't. I not that I can remember.
Yeah. So if you remember that.
Oh wait, there was the Kazon at the beginning.
Oh, that's true. But the Kazon didn't last very long.
Yeah.
The Kazon who dropped off the weird cat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tellarites, I think, are the only one. We're in some sort of distant part of the galaxy. Spoilers, I guess, here. The first episode was long, and I guess it counted as 2 parts.
Yeah.
It was a 40-minute thing. I think they could have done a shorter job here with the introduction of this show. I know they're trying to get you to know Dal and know that you're in a different part of the galaxy and know who the diviner is and know who's the diviner's right-hand guy.
Dreadnought, I think.
Dreadnought. Yeah, Jimmy Simpson plays Dreadnought.
Yeah.
He's a great character actor, Jimmy Simpson.
Yeah, literally an evil robot overlord.
Dude, so good. He's with multiple arms. Sound familiar?
Yeah, and able to turn him into guns.
Yeah. He's a cool character. I like him.
He is.
And he's well acted, obviously.
Yeah.
They try to get you to know everybody, but I feel like it took a long time. And by the end of it, I was like, I don't really like Dal. I don't really,
Yeah.
The first 40 minutes is a little rough. But by the end of it, we get to see the what's the name of the ship? Oh my god.
The
Star Protostar. That's it.
Yeah.
Because the Protostar is the name of the ship, but also the name of the thing.
Yeah.
In the ship. Yeah. And
The first time that I watched it, I don't remember when they actually say the name Protostar, but
I think
the first time that I watched
third episode.
Yeah, I don't think I realized until like the 4th or 5th episode that it wasn't Voyager, just with like a experimental drive in it.
Yeah, it looks exactly like the Voyager. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much to say about those first couple episodes. Those first the long 1-parter or 2-parter or whatever you want to call it. It introduces Rock Talk. It introduces Gwyn and Dal and all the characters you're supposed to know. Also, by the way, they do still a better job than Discovery of telling me who the people's names are.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I found quite a bit in those. I like that they were able to set up the escape and from the prison colony where they had everybody. I like that they were able to make it. So the show is very much about the difference between like who your family is, between blood. Like there's like Gwen and the diviner, but they have like a horrible relationship even though they're blood relations. And then like everybody else who is orphans, but they all come together at like your adopted family versus your blood family. And I thought that they did a really good job of doing that. Plus, those safety videos were hilarious.
Yes,
I
they
thought
were
that those,
very good.
yeah,
And the trip down into the mine where you finally meet Rock Talk and you just assume because of how big she is,
yeah,
that he's gonna get he's gonna get killed.
yeah,
Dal's gonna like just get murdered right there.
yep,
I think you're right. It does a great job of at least setting up that there's going to be an issue between Gwen and the Diviner, which by the time we get to episode 5, which is the mid-season break, is like, oh, okay, this is really what this show's going to be about. And that's a good revelation that it's not going to be a show just about hijinks and spectacle as much as some other shows might be, but maybe about being on the ship, talking to each other, going through the fact that Dal seems to like go alternately between massive, inflated, insane egotist to someone who like can't stop thinking about other people and trying to help them out when he's actually put his feet to the fire, right? So, when they're touring the ship and they're picking the captain and all these other things, and Zero says, "Oh, cool, we can all stay in the same room together. Everyone will like that, especially Rock Talk. It'll be like." Really helpful. And then Dal's like, no, I'm gonna go to the plush captain's quarters, and because I'm the captain. It's like, clearly you're not the captain yet, man. Like, no one's the captain here.
Well, and like they make it really clear that he's like the least qualified person to be the captain of the entire, well, maybe not Murph, but like everybody else.
But he's also
is, like, better qualified.
But he's also the least qualified of anyone to do anything, actually, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You watching other Nickelodeon shows, like Aang is immature and all these other things, but he's also the most competent at doing the thing he's supposed to eventually do.
Yeah.
And the only person who's actually competent at anything in this seems to be Junkum Pog or Gwen, right? Like,
I think everyone except for Doll, because Fugitive Zero and Rock Talk, I think both have Rock Talk's a little kid, but obviously has knowledge well beyond her. I don't know how old she is, but like for a little kid, she's like,
she said she's 8,
very competent, and obviously Fugitive Zero knows quite a bit about a lot of things as well. I don't know.
Zero
I wouldn't say
be very old, right? I can't tell with Fugitive Zero what she's supposed. She sometimes alternates between seeming like she's very wise and then sometimes gets distracted, like the Protostar distraction. She just can't refocus during that one episode, right? Yeah. 8. She's 8. I was correct.
Okay.
She's a brickar.
Yeah, but I feel like Dal's skills, and Dal does have a lot of skills with like fast talking and being able to improvise, but I don't feel like those are particularly skills that we see a lot in Starfleet.
Well, he's also one of those. Even through the 5th episode, he's definitely like the closest to his one sheet presentation when they sold the show. Dal's a slick talking rogue kid, and he just hasn't evolved really yet. And I think it seems intentional already that he's not coming to terms yet. Like some of the other characters have started to come to terms, especially Gwen. Immediately presented with like Rock Talk telling her like, "Hey man, I'm 8 years old. You abducted me. Oh,
Why'd you do that?
What? We thought you were family. Oh, good question. Interesting. Very interesting to get into. I think the 2 most interesting of the 5 episodes was the 2-parter on the terror planet, or whatever you want to call it.
Murder World.
The Murder World. The M-class planet that Janeway says they have to go check out because they're Starfleet. And in his only wisdom in the entire show, Dahl says, "No, we really don't need to go there," and everybody else shoots him down. They get stuck. They get stuck on the Murder Planet, which is it turns out is not an M-class planet. Might be just a living organism. I guess it's not well defined how that works, but
I like when Zero reads its mind. There's a scene where they're walking and Zero's like, well, maybe we just don't understand what it wants. Nope, it definitely just wants to eat us.
I do, yeah. Zero's interesting character. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't always come. It seems very like it. A good definition would be like some sort of ADD. Like she's some sort of, for people that haven't seen it yet, she's some sort of amorphous, gaseous living thing that lives inside of a containment vessel, because otherwise she would lose corporeal form. And she has all sorts of superpowers is the only way to really describe what she can do. But at the same time, I think that she's so interconnected with like the universe at a different level that it seems like they're writing it to be like, yeah, she's not going to save the day every time because she's distracted by all these other things in her head that, or he, I don't know, they, the best way to describe Zero is probably they, I guess. They are always distracted, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets halfway through a 2-parter before Zero's like, oh, wait a minute, this thing's alive. I could just read its mind. Oh no, yeah, it doesn't matter that I can read its mind. Kind of funny. Those episodes are really good because you finally have real bad guys that we're gonna get invested in. The Diviner.
Oh yeah, they set that up well right at the beginning. I mean, you can't get much more bad guy than child slavery. So,
and like child slave situation that is about like some sort of obsession with the protostar, so much so that I have this daughter that might not actually be my daughter, but at the same time I'm going to sacrifice everything and ignore her and treat her badly and use her, and it's like very clearly you're not a good person. Yeah.
Yeah. Which also is a brilliant mechanism to use in a children's show, because then the kids can immediately side with, because the kids watching are kids, and so they're like, man, I really wouldn't want to be a slave in a crystal mine. So
yeah,
it's
clearly
like,
who's the bad guy. Yeah.
Right. Just like Temple of Doom, you're like, man, that's terrible. These guys really are bad.
Yeah, so but Zero's interesting. Right? I don't know how to describe. The Protostar, I think, is the only other character really we haven't talked about, because the Protostar includes Janeway. How do you like this depiction of Janeway so far? I don't know how it fits to me in terms of accepting the canonicity of, a few years after Voyager got back, they already turned her into an AI so she could lead crews of people. But like, it's whatever. Like, throw that away for the kids show and just, how do you like this interpretation of Captain Janeway?
I love this Janeway. This Janeway, as soon as she turned on in the show, it reminded me of the episode or episodes of Voyager. Do you remember the emergency command hologram episodes where the doctor he had like
the doctor had the entire
that
ship
fantasy world, where he was like, everybody else was incapacitated and he had to take over, so he's like, computer, activate the emergency command hologram. It kind of reminded me of that.
his pips changed on his collar, and his color changed. It was so good.
And I love those episodes or those episodes of Voyager. Yeah. And so that immediately endeared this to me. Plus, I thought that she was an excellent choice. I don't really know if you're going to have a training hologram. I can't think of really anybody better to use. And it seemed like something that Janeway herself would have been, because she had all the governess holodeck adventures, so it seemed like something that would totally be within her wheelhouse when she got back. So if they said, hey, do you want to like train recruits, and she'd be like, oh, I am all for that. So I thought that was a terrific idea on their part, and I really liked, there were a lot of really genuinely funny parts with her and her like deadpan delivery of really funny stuff whenever Dahl was going to do something really stupid, but she's just like totally calm and like, I should caution you that you're going to fly, like that you might be flying right into a star or into a dying star, or or like I love the part when he says transfer all power to the impulse engines,
she's like,
and
all
she's
power?
like, that will include me. Yeah, and but like in the middle of the sentence she shuts out, or she gets shut down, and like the jail cell doors shut down and
they
stuff,
lose
and like
gravity, they don't have air.
Yeah, I thought that because Jankum took him, I think it was Jankum, either Jankum or Zero, whoever was at those controls, took Dahl literally and literally transferred every single thing to the impulse engines. And like, I mean, there's a lot of like, she does a really good Kate Mulgrew does a really good job of delivering those lines. Or like when in the episode later on, when Gwen takes over the ship and she's like trying to tell her, look, you've been locked out of all the systems, and then Gwen takes over, guesses the password or whatever, and takes over, and then she switches, and she's like, and you're now in full control. Like I felt like she did a really good job with being able to deliver the comedic lines, and there were a lot of really good lines in there for her.
It's funny that she seems to be the comedy for adults, right? Like everybody that watched a new Janeway, her delivery is not for kids. Like the kids are not going to get the kids that are like laughing at the Jankum Pog jokes. Like Jankum Pog doesn't want to die. That joke is like fine. I smile at that because Jason Mantzoukas is funny, but like the real jokes come from like Janeway talking to herself as a hologram, trying to get a planet to stop eating her ship, right? Like Protostar. Interesting. What's the like like you said, when Gwen gets out and she's giving her a lecture about how she's not actually part of the crew, and mid-sentence has to be like, hello, and now you're the captain. Very good. I think that part of it for me, the relationship between Gwen and the Diviner, and why he trained her to know everything about Starfleet ships, right? Like she knew how to break in. She knew how to hack into the computer. She already knew everything about the Protostar, why he knows everything. That section of it, the story of the show, if they maintain working on that every once in a while, at the end of this 5th episode, there's a whole series of reasons why it could take a break from that. If they keep working on it a little bit at a time, story-wise, that'll be enough for me. I don't know about you. I don't know.
I think that I would be surprised. I would be shocked if they were not, maybe not central in every episode, but that the Diviner and Dreadnought were not the main bad guys throughout the rest of that the threat of them, that we don't at least check in with them every episode and see where they are in their chase, and that if not for multiple seasons, at least for the rest of this season, I would be shocked if they were not, if their chase was not the overarching plot of this season.
I don't know how you drift off of them into Lower Decks territory, where it's kind of like there's a through line to the season, but it's maybe 5 minutes of the 25 minutes, drifting off into that versus drifting into, okay, well, they got away from them with using the Protostar this time, and they couldn't be tracked and all that. Do we spend the next 5 episodes from the second half of this season just hanging out and being wacky? I don't know. I could see either direction being a direction. I hope it's more your direction. And I don't mean that in the Discovery way of like only the plot matters, and we're never gonna distract ourselves, and there's a balance to be had, and I think with Nickelodeon shows especially, there's a balance to be had between the main story and the side story. So far, the episodes seem, well, you can't really count the first 2 because that's setting up everything, but 3, 4, and 5 are well balanced in terms of the Star Trekkiness of let's go explore this planet. What's wrong with it? Oh no, it's gonna eat us. Oh wait, the main bad guy's actually coming here. You know,
Yeah.
that's a good balance, I think, so far.
I thought that it was going back to the adopted family versus blood thing. I thought that it was really telling that when she knew that the planet wasn't her dad was when he said that he was proud of her. That was when she was like, "Oh, you're not my dad at all." Like,
Very, very deep.
how heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Very deep and interesting line. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
Well written.
Yeah, the planet reminded me of the Matrix. Like it's vines instead of a computer planet, but like just like how it's the whole world, and it's just trying to keep them there to eat them, and it's like giving them a fantasy to try and keep them there.
Oh, and Rock Talk's
And
fantasy, you think, is initially Rock Talk's fantasy is like, oh, she's being hugged by bunnies because she's 8 years old, but it's not like the writing.
they're burying her alive.
Yeah, they are. It's kind of funny when they show up and she's just under vines forever.
Yeah.
But if you pay attention really closely, like that for kids is the interesting part, right? Oh, look, she's buried under these bunnies. Oh, it's not bunnies, it's vines. Oh. But if you listen to her later on in the episode, it wasn't that the bunnies were there. It's that she was being loved. Right? She was being hugged. She was being comforted. That was the thing the planet was giving her. And she's an 8-year-old kid that was abducted and thrown into a mine. You know, that's all she needs, really. And it's going to be interesting watching other characters on the show try to give that to her when they're all broken too in some sort of way because of the same issues. It's a good enough premise for a normal show, and then it has Star Trek in it.
Right. The when she orders the food, and she says like, and
that crushed me.
Yeah, Jankum is like, "Why would you order that?" And she's like, I was taken so early. I don't remember any other food.
I don't know any. Yeah, this is what I eat. I don't know any other food. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like her story in particular is just very sort of heartbreaking.
Yeah. Really good. Really good, I think, personally. Enough for me to watch another 5 or whatever the rest of this season is and then kind of sit back with it. But I think I think it's
definitely for me. They obviously it's aimed at a much younger demographic than me, but there's plenty of what's in there that has captured my interest, and I enjoyed watching it, so I will definitely I'm looking forward to them starting up the second half of season 1 in January.
Yeah. And I think that if you're on the fence about it, like if we're doing a review, which we never really do because we just say if we liked it or we didn't like it and people can make up their own minds, but I would say for people that are on the fence about it, give it the 5 episodes. It's really not that much of your time. It's like watching a movie. I mean,
right. It's like 2 hours. Definitely give it the full 5. Don't just watch the two-part pilot and judge it based on that. Yeah.
It's rough. It's rough to say something about like a show doesn't. Almost all shows don't catch their stride immediately. Some shows do, and that's not fair. Like Battlestar caught its stride early because they made a movie first, right? And then you get into the first couple episodes, and you're like, "Whoa, this is really good." And you're like, "Yeah, they did a movie. You can't judge some shows. A show like this is laid out for a different audience. It's not a Game of Thrones like where you can build story as you go. It's written to give kids the information they need to then go forward without thinking about it ever again.
Right.
And that just is how it is. And so you kind of have to assume past that's where the story is for an adult to catch on. And I think it's there. I think those 3 other episodes are, especially the last 2, are really where it's going to excel. So give it time if you're somewhat interested in what you see earlier. If you look at it,
just consider the first 5 episodes the movie to start the show. And I think that's a really good analogy. because it really isn't like I don't know. It's what is that, like 115 minutes? So yeah, like about 2 hours. So it's roughly equivalent to a
Short
movie.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think you have to get all the way to the end to start appreciating it. I just think that it builds momentum as it goes. So if you only watch the first 45 minutes, you're probably not going to enjoy it as much as if you watch another 45 minutes
we said
and keep going.
We said one of the most important and enjoyable things is Janeway in the show.
Right.
Well, Janeway is not in the first 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. You have to get to the end of the first 40 minutes for the ship to kick on. And that's not really a spoiler. I mean, it just is what it is. They introduce all the characters. They introduce, that you're in the Delta Quadrant in some random place and all these other things before you can get to what I, ostensibly said is one of the best parts, right? Janeway and all that. And I think you were saying the same thing. So
yeah,
you it's a slow burn a little bit. And it's good. I think it's good. So there you go.
Yeah.
Star Trek Prodigy. That's the quick review. And if you look at a trailer, I guess you could watch a trailer. If you look at a trailer and you kind of don't get the vibe, maybe then don't do it. But if you get the vibe, you're like kind of interested in Star Trek animated or whatever, do stick it out past those first 40 minutes. You got to try.
Right.
You got to try.
Yeah. I will say, I liked two other notes. I liked that, that at the end, I liked that they showed that Gwen saved Merv, that she didn't need to, but when she jumps out of the ship in the replicated vehicle, that she took the time to save Merv. I think that shows her character and makes it much easier to accept her into the group. And then that leads me directly to my second point of, wow, they have vehicle replicators. That's pretty cool.
It was super cool. Like, right, like the protostar can replicate an entire. That was a cool scene, and it was really tough to actually you feel bad for Rock Talk every time they use her.
Yeah.
The way that other people used her. So like Gwen breaks out of prison and everyone's immediate reaction is they literally all look at Rock Talk and they're like, well, you got to go stop her. And she says, why me?
You're the biggest and the strongest.
Look at you. I mean, that's your job. It's like, what? I mean, she's an 8-year-old kid. What if that's not what she wants? Yeah. Doesn't matter. You got to go do it. And she gets down there and the scene between the two of them where she's just like, that is the breaking moment where Gwen has to start accepting either her responsibility for what she did to these kids or accepting that she needs to make it right. Right. Yeah. And when you get to later Murph and her and Rock Talk fighting through a replicating ship was really cool and something you'd only probably see in animation where the ship is being built around them by a replicator while they're fighting. And she's just, and watching an 8-year-old with a body like that go into a rage from being, realizing, because she probably didn't before that, realizing she had been betrayed by somebody.
Right.
It's incredible writing in small moments like that.
No, it is. I mean, obviously it is the tone and the pacing are aimed at younger adults and older kids.
Yeah.
But it really is really good and engaging and thoughtful writing.
Yeah. I mean, you reminded me of a scene that I love that I just not thought to mention. I'm very good scene. Yeah. Any further comments before I hit you with a question about Lower Decks?
No. Wait, yeah, yes.
There it is.
I like Gwen's whatever that living metal thing, the like knife thing that she has,
so
that can turn into a knife or whatever.
Yeah. How does it seems like it's like psychically controlled by her or her braids or something like that, but she's got like bracelets on, or it is whatever it is, but it's she usually wears it on her body and then all of a sudden can turn it into a knife, or that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, or it's sentient that she can somehow communicate, like tell what she wants it to do, or do hand gestures or telepathy or whatever. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but that's a really cool almost character in and of itself. When it turns into the splint when she hurts her leg and
She
stuff.
hurts
So
her
yeah,
leg and then it becomes a splint. That's really cool. And
yeah.
eventually people go back for her and they start to accept, that she may not be their friend, but is also a necessary person, and they can't betray their own value. That stuff, as it kind of is starting to work itself out, it is a little hackneyed.
Yeah, but you gotta show them willing to not leave her behind, even though she's done horrible things. Doll can see.
She may not have done them intentionally,
Yeah.
as mean spirited as maybe her father did, right?
Right, and that regardless, they just can't leave her. They can't just abandon her to the planet, so they go back for her. And again, that's setting up. I think her journey is going to be the central one of like because like you said, she's already had a significant amount of character development, and I think at least for this first season, her journey is going to be the most central one.
I really honestly was starting to develop, and I hadn't thought to put it in this because we still have 5 more episodes to see if I'm wrong. But she might actually be the protagonist of the show, and they used Dal to introduce everybody, but he might actually be the deuteragonist, like not really the main as much as you think. I hope.
And to go to that point, it's called Prodigy, and I think that we can.
They called her Prodigy at least once.
Well, and the diviner calls her Progeny, which sounds almost exactly the same.
But
and like if anybody's a prodigy on the show, it's certainly not Dal.
No, it's not Dal. Yeah, no, not at all. And gosh, I can't remember the other dude's name. The diviner's buddy.
I think it's Dreadnought.
Dreadnought, you're correct. For some reason, it doesn't stick as easily as the other ones. Dreadnought, at one point early on in the episode, says, young Prodigy to her, I believe. I would have to go back to confirm that, but that's when you're kind of like, huh, okay, interesting. But very... I don't want to say clearly because I could be wrong, but I really believe deeply that it is not about the hijinks of the character you thought was the main character because they introduced him first. It's really going to be more about her journey to confront her father and all the wrongs that she was told were right,
Yeah.
That is interesting, and I hope they stick with the thing that is interesting.
And doing what she knows, because even at the very beginning of the show, she gets mad at the Kazon for bringing such a young kid. She knows what she's doing is wrong, and learning that she just needs to go with that, and that her dad has led her down the wrong path, and that she needs to do the right thing. So
yeah, no,
I agree. I think that the Prodigy in the name is probably her. Although, like, I think that could apply to. I think that it most clearly applies to her, although I think that you could make the argument that the whole ship is full of prodigies, but other than Dal. And maybe
Dal.
Murph.
And Murph.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to see Zero as... they're just not... None of the other... Junkampog, Zero... Even... I mean, Rock Talk gets a lot of airtime because she is an interesting character to play with her story.
Right.
But... those others are not written to be the mains, really. I mean, they keep putting Dal into these positions where you think that he's the main character, right? He keeps calling himself the captain. He keeps calling the shots so far, but really, I really think it's a red herring. It's he has the makings of the second in importance, of a second in command. Right, he doesn't have the makings of a captain.
Although he is really good at bringing them all together, which I will say is an important and nobody else on the show really wants to lead. Like they all sort of just defer to him automatically anyway, because he wants to do it, and he really is like sort of the person who, and it's not just at the very beginning
No.
that his desire to escape is what brings them all together, but like throughout the show, he's the one who sort of brings everybody together, sort of motivates everybody.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like he can't pilot the ship. He can't
Nope.
really do a whole lot of he's not an engineer, but he is good at that. He is good at motivating them.
His thinking in critical situations is not very good either. But
Yeah, no.
there's the moment on the planet where when he and Gwen stop to think together, they come up with the idea of looking at the stars, right?
Yeah.
And that tells you those two have to be in conjunction for everything to work. So it'll be interesting to see where they place people. I don't know that we'll ever see someone officially crowned captain of the ship unless they somehow make it to Starfleet or something. But I don't know how, if they ever make it to Starfleet, Starfleet doesn't go, thanks for bringing the ship back. Get off.
Probably.
There's no world in which like we end up with a Starfleet structure on board this ship that is not anything more than what Janeway assigns to people.
Right.
Yeah, John Compog is the engineer. Yeah, Rock Talk probably ends up on weapons, but it's sad to see some of that.
Chief of security.
Chief of security. Yeah. She's got little yellow pips on her, some painted onto her or something.
Yeah.
Try replicating a uniform that big. You do it with the vehicle replicator. Funny. What?
Yeah. Fugitive can be the science officer.
I mean, the tropes are there for those three, right? To sit in those roles. They've introduced them as those characters. And I really hope they don't lose, especially with Rock Talk, the interesting thread of like you're forcing a person into a role based on their appearance and only their physical appearance and abilities. It's fascinating. That part is fascinating. Some of it's just for kids. Like really don't lose the thread that some of it's for kids. What is your You said that you've turned on Lower Decks now as a repeat show, which I have not done yet, but I have thought about doing sometimes while I'm doing dishes or something like that. When I finish my rewatch of Stargate SG-1. What was the one you went to? What's your moment?
I just started back over at the beginning. So I watched Prodigy, I don't know, like a month ago roughly when it came out. And then I rewatched it last night because we were going to record. So I rewatched Prodigy last night, all of it, to refresh my memory and take some more detailed notes. And then when I got done, because like you said, it's only 2 hours long, I still had some time before I went to bed. So I decided that I was in a Star Trek mood and just turned on Lower Decks, I watched season 1 once about a year ago. I don't think I watched it when it first came out, but when you guys were talking about it and how good it was, then I went and watched it, and it was probably about this time of year. And then I rewatched it before season 2 came out. I rewatched season 1 before season 2 came out this year, and then I watched season 2. So I guess this is my third viewing of season 1.
Yeah.
But I'll just keep watching it because I really love that show.
I think the side jokes that come back later, like there's a side joke in season 1 that she makes running down a hallway that ends up turning into a character in season 2. Stuff like that, where not everything that's a throwaway ends up a throwaway. And it doesn't matter if you remember it. The joke is still good either way, which is one of the better parts. Or like taking jokes that might have even been jokes in TNG, like Geordi saying there's a cetacean ops, and someone's going like, what is cetacean ops? Let's figure that out. And like, clearly we have whales on board. That's what that means. Like what?
Yeah.
Like that's season 2 stuff, I guess, but season 1 is equally as funny,
Oh
and
yes. Yeah.
maybe even a little less ridiculous in its approach to dragging people in. There's a lot more down to earth episodes in season 1. I think I was trying to remember one of my favorite ones in there was the one where they create the holodeck training program with the little Badgie.
Oh
In
yeah,
season 1.
Badgie's great.
Badgie is
Yeah.
so good. And then you're like, oh, that Badgie episode was so good. I wish that was a character later. And like, oh, the end of season 1, Badgie comes back. It's like
Yeah.
those moments are really, really funny. It's
Yeah.
things like that they do with the holodeck always are great. Uh, things like bringing Shax back in season 2 and just not telling you why, and then having it be an entire plot point about you don't ask senior officers how they came
Yeah.
back from the dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, or I think the end of season 1 or the beginning of season 2 when he gets the teleporter clone.
Oh yeah,
And-
that's beginning of season
and-
2. Yeah.
And they show him talking to Riker, and he's doing the Riker maneuver with his leg in the background. Like,
Yeah, where he
yeah,
overs the chair. Yeah.
yeah, there's so many good, like, really quick jokes in there.
It's a deep love that walking around with a Tom Paris plate and making
Oh, yeah.
just saying that you're gonna make an episode about commemorative Star Trek plates.
Yeah.
Not just says that you love Star Trek as a show, but you love the Star Trek fandom, right? Like, yeah, everybody had commemorative plates, but even I ended up with commemorative Star Trek plates, and I don't even know where they came from or how. Like, it's just, it's it's really good. And things that even I had to go look back up, like, okay, where were the Mugatus from? I don't remember where those are from. Oh, so well, it's one episode in the original series. Of course, you don't remember where it was from.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're a great character in this. So
Yeah, they are really good. Changing the Ferengi into conservationists was brilliant. Like,
yeah.
actually, you'll make more money if you have a zoo than.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. It was not something that I realized that I needed in my life, but now I love that I have this.
Yeah.
So
It's a shame if it's not their most popular Star Trek show right now. If their numbers don't bear that out, I would guess that it is. If I had to guess,
it wouldn't surprise, just because it's animated and because I don't feel like, like you were saying, I feel like they really marketed this as like towards the Rick and Morty crowd.
They really did. It was a big mistake.
And it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't their most popular thing right now, but I definitely agree. I think it should be.
It really should. I mean, it should be. I hope they can find a way to remarket it or something if it's not doing. I mean, they re-upped it for season 3. I haven't heard beyond that. But it would be a shame if it doesn't last 5 or 6 seasons, because they've got enough ideas to get 60 episodes, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
It's just such a wealth of. I mean, they've touched TNG, they've touched DS9 and Voyager, they've touched original series. I don't think they've even gotten close to the movies or any.
Yeah.
There's one movie reference with the Cerritos flyover where they just keep flying around the Cerritos for like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and he talks about in one of the in one of the earliest episodes, because I watched it last night, where she's like, she says something about Spock, and he's like, of course I know about Spock. He came back from the dead.
Right. Yeah. So good. Well, thanks for sharing some non-carbon scoring time with me. Some phaser time.
Yeah. Oh, and just to go back, man, the dolphins were hilarious.
Oh, dude.
When there's something wrong with this blowhole.
I like that one dolphin was just completely ADD. It's like, I just said that. Like, we just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
those dolphins in season 2 were great. Oh, and I love I'll go back to your question. I think that my favorite episode is the one from season 2 where they have the different species lower decks people. So like you see the Klingon lower decks people and the the Vulcan lower decks people
Yeah.
and the Borg lower decks people. I love that episode. That what a great way to show that everybody, even the Borg, where you would think that like everybody but the Queen was a lower decks person, but like uh, they all have like the same problems and frustrations and everything.
Yep. I really like that where he tries to become first officer on the Klingon ship was, and he's like the only reason he excels is because he walked the dog, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this and tying it into the fact that all those ships then come together to fight right later on, and like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this is a funny, if that episode had gone nowhere other than being a day in the life, it would have been funny. But then to sit back and be like, wait a minute, all these ships are connected through, okay, the Pakleds and the Klingons are working together, so they show up together initially, and you're like, oh, that's weird. Maybe we'll get to that next episode. Oh no, here comes the Cerritos. Oh, who's gonna save the day? It's the, and like tying that all in is really shows a lot of concentration and the sense of a group think kind of way. You know what I mean? Like it shows concentration, not like mental concentration, but like distillation of ideas down to really what makes them pointed in,
Yeah.
in service of something better.
Yeah, they do a really good job of writing on that show and getting the plot really ironed out and making it work, and then working in a bunch of jokes that are really funny. Like a lot of times writers put in jokes that really aren't that funny, just to try and, because they're like, well, we need a joke here. But
Yeah.
like that show, I feel like is just has really good jokes, and it's just like comedy beat after comedy beat after comedy beat, and they make sense within the flow of the show, the plot. So I feel like they have a really tightly written script in pretty much every episode.
And the comedy beats are quick. They come very quick sometimes. They back and forth. Back and forth stuff can be very funny. And then like an episode where they had the Renaissance Fair ship, where there's a lot of plot, right?
Yeah.
And the jokes are more about the ridiculousness of letting Star Trek be Star Trek for a minute. And like you just have to laugh at like, oh, we're just all accepting that there's this Renaissance ship now, and like everyone's acting like it's completely normal. Like no one's acting like this is ridiculous. Like this is no, we're accepting of your culture. And it's like, how are you not laughing? You know, just letting a joke play out on its own is very good. It's very good. Yeah. Thank you for watching Prodigy with me. I thought I might have to report on it alone, and that would be sad because, you know, talking back and forth about it, you really reminded me of some stuff that's more important than the things I thought were my notes that were important. And that's what they call collaboration, sister.
I really enjoyed Prodigy.
Much more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I am not. I don't think that it was a waste of my 2 hours. Obviously, I watched it twice, so my 4 hours. But I mean, like, I really enjoyed the show. So I'm very excited about the state of Star Trek animation, right? Star Trek in general, but also Star Trek animation.
But I would say
forward.
if I were ranking, obviously we don't have Strange New Worlds yet, but if I were ranking a wild ranking of 3 shows, but your modern 4 shows, I guess, your modern Star Treks that are available, these immediately rise to the top. The Lower Decks is far and away the most well-informed and in-universe continuation of Star Trek. If you loved TNG and you haven't watched anything since then, you can still watch that show and know exactly what's going on. The rules are exactly the same, etc. Nothing has changed. If you've watched more Star Trek than TNG, you're even better off, right? You'll get more jokes, you'll get more invested. And then, I'm serious about this, after the first 2 episodes, I wasn't sure, but after the 5th episode, this Prodigy might be better scripted than Picard. Honestly,
I agree.
and then
I say that as someone who enjoyed Picard.
I did.
But it did not. If I had to pick a weakness of Picard, it probably was the writing.
Yeah,
Like I felt like
it's not the acting. The acting in Picard is very good.
yeah, no, yeah.
Um,
But and
what's
to go
wrong
back
with,
to
yeah,
to go back to your point about the writing and how it works so well with the feel of next gen for Lower Decks, I feel like an awful lot of I generally enjoy Discovery, but I feel like the stuff that I don't enjoy is when Discovery, the writers of Discovery, are fighting against the constraints of having to write a show within the Star Trek universe.
yeah.
And so I actually feel like I'm more excited for Discovery now because they're 9,000 years in the future, and they won't be as constrained by that as when they were set, right before the original series. Whereas with Lower Decks, they're like, we're gonna dive in with both feet. That's a bad analogy, but like we're going to write from the other direction. We're going to enjoy the fact that we are in Star Trek continuity.
There's a strain on Discovery at all times. And I have not seen season 4. They are 5 episodes into it, I believe, maybe 6 out of 11. I will probably wait until it's all out. I honestly am deciding whether I want to continue with it or not. And I've never not watched a Star Trek thing all the way through, even that animated series. I did it. I've watched as many documentaries as are available. I just every step of the way feel like someone on Discovery is we have to change something to be different. Every minute of every episode, every shot, everything, down to what the tricorders looked like, had to be different. It was like, why can't you accept the things that exist? I understand you're upgrading things because they have to look better than they did initially, right? Like a higher resolution means you have to create deeper backgrounds with more information, and that's fine. But like literally just changing how everything works for no reason other than straining against what was there before is very difficult to accept. But the tenor and the creation of that show are rooted instead in, right, like the assumption is that it needs to be bigger and better and faster and more exciting. Every single item seems to be taken in a way of like, it wasn't good enough before, and that is the part that I think that a lot of people struggle with because it seems like a person has come in and basically said, the thing you like isn't good enough, I'm making it better, is the tone.
Again, if they had set this show from the beginning, 9,000 years in the future,
yeah,
I think that alleviates almost all of that disconnect, because then if you want the Klingons to look different, you're not running up against anything. It was the decision to set this as a prequel that really, I feel like, hampered Discovery. If they would have just gotten to the point where they were in season 3, where they were in the future, and that explains why the ship looks different. If they just built the ship to look like the 60s Enterprise ship,
Constellation class.
Yeah, and then you have at the end of the 3rd episode, you're in the future, and they retrofit the ship. All of that's fixed. The reason why the Klingons look different is because we're thousands of years in the future. Yeah. Everything's fixed. So like all of those things, if you want to tell those stories, make much more sense. I don't know why they didn't set it after Voyager as opposed to setting it before the original series.
It's just so strange to have walked in to that time period and said everything about this needs to change, and then after I've changed every bit of prequel knowledge about these things, I'm gonna just jump to the future. So like, I have to change the way the Klingons look. I have to change the way the Klingons behave. I have to change the way that we move through space with the spore drive. I have to change the way Starfleet works. I have to change basically lined up everything so that it was connected exactly to the. I have to change Spock. Spock has a sister now, and that's why he connects with his emotions later. It's not the fact that his mother and the crew around him later on. Touching all that stuff didn't need to happen. It only came, and it comes off as, and I'm not saying that this is the only way that it is, but it comes off as, and this is why a lot of people struggle to like it. A lot of people like it. There's a very dedicated fan base for Discovery, but the dedicated fan base for Discovery seems to come from championing roles and actors and the things that are good about it, right? That there are a lot of good things about it. Like I really love the actor that plays Book. I really liked Sonequa Martin Green. She's fantastic, and all these things that are good about it seem to be championed well by people that like the show, and rightfully so in those instances. But that seems to make up the fan base versus the people that came to it saying Star Trek and then realized that it's got to be Kurtzman seems to have, and I don't know the man and I can't speak to it, but seems to have this thing that I was talking about earlier where like I have to change that to be better. And so what you're talking about, he stuck around in this past period to change literally everything before the exact start of Star Trek, right? Like, yeah, and then jumped away to the future without explaining what those changes mean. So I changed all these things about the Klingons. Okay, well, does that still fit in continuity, or are you changing continuity? I don't know. They're in the future now. I have the spore drive. Well, no one ever talked about the spore drive. We've created the Terran Empire connection, and now we're jumping to the future. And like all the fun with none of the responsibility is what Discovery was. And I don't know that that's what it is in season 4. They're in the future. It was intriguing to jump to the future in season 3. I don't know. I struggle to be interested going further with it, but I know myself, and I know I will probably pull the trigger and watch it. But that's my short spiel on Discovery.
I am definitely going to watch season 4, although I will say I know that I'm like the only person on Earth who liked Saru, and the original.
You really are.
I really am. The original Saru before he lost his ganglia.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting story that they told, but I actually really enjoyed the character of Saru, and I thought that he was set up. I'm sure that they changed it. I'm sure that the plan was to keep him around much longer than he was, but that they, as all shows do, that they reacted. They had to take steps because he was such an unpopular character. He always reminded me of the in the book Ringworld, the science fiction novel Ringworld.
Yeah.
The 3-legged alien that gets everybody together, where his entire society is based on like being cautious. Their leader is literally called the hindmost because he stands at the back where it's the safest. And so that was what I thought of when I thought of Saru. And I thought that was going to be an interesting dynamic to have him as either the captain, or I thought at the beginning that they were setting it up more where Michael was going to be the captain and he was still going to be the first officer. But to have that be not Picard and Riker, but have it be somebody who is willing to break rules and somebody who is willing to take chances, have a first officer who's like completely by the book and really, really, really cautious. I thought that they could have gotten some really interesting stories out of that. And plus, I just sort of liked the character in general. I know everybody else hated him. I liked Saru. I liked him. I liked his early character moments and thought that they were interesting. So I was disappointed when they did the episode where he lost his ganglia and changed his behavior, and then having them basically write him off the show.
I think he's back, so you may not be too disappointed. That's a lot to say about Discovery, and then maybe because we're all coming
Discovery's
from different.
A larger discussion. Season 3 was better, but now I feel like with Michael being captain, then that removes like the last thing that really was like bugging me was the fact that she was committing mutiny every other episode.
It's just crazy, right? Well, she'll still be committing mutiny just with a whole ship.
Well, she can't commit. She'll disobey orders from the admiral, but I'm okay with that. That's better than her than me saying, why is she still
Not in
why
jail.
is she still the first officer? Right. She's literally constantly committing mutiny, which you can't have that. It's different when it's the captain disobeying the order from the admiral. That happens all the like not as much as it happened in Discovery, not
Oh,
as
it happens.
frequently as it
Picard
happened in
did it all the
Discovery.
time too.
Right, exactly. It's different when it's the captain. I feel like we're in a really good place now. If we get into the first episode and they demote her, I'm just going to be like, you know what? I may not even finish this story arc because I don't understand why they keep doing that.
Well, here's to positivity and optimism, and to Subspace Transmissions. Thanks for joining me, Kit. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. It was good to talk some Star Trek.
It was fun to talk Prodigy because it's fun to talk Prodigy. Let's just there's no because. It was fun to talk about.
It's a fun, good show, and I hope it gets the ratings that it needs to keep going.
Yeah,
and I hope that more people discover it and enjoy it as much as I did.
I hope it catches an audience. Is what I was gonna say. So we're on the same page on that one. I have to thank you for your recommend based on your family's experience. We are now currently working our way through He-Man and the Masters of the Universe from the 80s.
Oh yeah,
the original Filmation stuff. They both dig it. They are really they think Skeletor is hilarious. Anytime he talks, they just start laughing.
Oh yeah, he is.
And for one of my kids, which is kind of scared of a lot of stuff in movies, it was kind of a revelation that bad guys can still be funny. So we're working our way through that, which is kind of exciting, given our discussions on Carbon Scoring about toys and what they're gonna find in some stockings going forward.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, I know that we have gotten many hours of play out of the Castle Grayskull that I got, and all the different Origins figures, because the Origins figures aren't that, I think that the price went up, but I think that they went to I think that they started out at like $12 or $13, and many of them were cheaper than that. So it's not an expensive hobby for me to get a dozen Origins figures over 3-4 months.
I mean, it's definitely cheaper than those Revelations figures, which is a huge factor in my up. I don't know what the word is for upcoming when you're still working on a decision, but up thinking decision making.
I need Big Bad Toy Store. I've got the Man at Arms Deluxe, the Eternian Royal Guard that is like the old Man at Arms with no mustache.
Before he had the thing.
Yeah. I have that on order. I have Buzz Off on order. I have Webster on order, and I have that Skelegod mini.
Oh, the mini Skelegod.
That's sitting in my pile of loot that I want, so that I can get it, so that I can do the story that I want to tell of Skeletor getting the sword, turning into Skelegod, and then the sorceress turning him into a dwarf. But like, I don't want to pay $4 shipping just for that one $5 or $6 Eternia mini. I want that other stuff that's supposed to come out in December.
To
come out together, so that I can get it. But yeah, I've got it's gonna be I've got Stinkor that I'm giving to myself. Santa's giving it to me for Christmas, and then I've got the two. I've got Faker and Duplicat, and the Castle Grayskull set with the robot and the Spirit of Grayskull and stuff that we can open on Christmas Day and play with. So
I'm trying not to overextend myself on my Reaction Super 7 collection going forward. Trying to make sure that I remember that is not, I do not have to get everything.
Yeah. You know that they have the Star Trek ones, right? Yeah. So to go back to that, to have a Star Trek toy minute, in 1989, they had 3 3/4 inch next gen figures. I don't remember who made them. I don't think it was Playmates, but it might have been. But they looked like Kenner had made 80s Star Wars figure versions of the bridge crew. It was like Picard and Data and Geordi and Worf and Tasha and stuff. And I had some of those, and the reaction reminds me exactly of those, and so I might end up picking up a set of next gen. But they have the reaction ones. I think that they have way more. I think that there were 8 back in 1989. I think that they only did one wave of them. And I think
I still have my 1980s die-cast Enterprise D
Oh,
just
nice.
hanging out. It's all scratched up and
Yeah.
destroyed, but it separates at the saucer still, and it's
Oh,
heavy.
yeah.
It's super heavy. I don't know how I would ever get rid of this thing. I just don't know what to do with it. It's just so
Yeah.
destroyed. No, but it's integral to my love of Star Trek.
Yeah. But yeah, the Super 7 has so many. Like, I have Terminator ones. I got the Snake Plissken one. There's a whole bunch of Alien and Aliens ones. They have Ninja Turtle ones, which I really don't. In general, I don't.
Galoob,
If
1988.
well, that's not really what I go to the reaction ones for.
Uh-huh.
The what I go to the reaction ones for are the stuff like Terminator that never had a like signature toy
Right,
that I
exactly.
collected that
Yeah.
I wished would have been out. Stuff like Ninja Turtles and He-Man, I too closely identify with their original scales because that was this. So like, I'm not going to get Transformers ones. I'm not going to. I don't need to get GI Joe ones because GI Joes were already in that scale, and like I don't need 5 POA GI
No.
Joes. I'm not going to get the Ninja Turtle ones. I'm not in general. I'm not going to get the He-Man ones because I identify them with that 5.5 inch
Right.
scale.
Yeah, you like the
But
bulkier toys.
yeah, the stuff like Alien and Aliens and Terminator and stuff that never had toys, that's the stuff. I know that they had Mego Planet of the Apes toys, but I wasn't old enough to ever play with those. So I got a bunch of the Planet of the Apes 3.75 inch ones, and Ken got me the playset from Comic Con like
Oh, cool.
3 years ago.
Nice.
So that was kind of yeah. But
I'm looking at a lot of 1990s Playmates Star Trek now, and I'm like, maybe that's what I need.
they made a lot of those, and they have not. A lot of them, I'm sure that there are some that are like insanely expensive as well, but there's a lot you can find. That's a toy line that's collectible. Well, I haven't checked since COVID, but that's a not cost prohibitive because a lot of toy lines were so scarce. They just didn't make enough of them that they're really expensive to collect.
Yeah.
But because that Playmates line was so popular, you can find a lot of versions of the key characters for not a ton of money.
And they all look like they're 3 3/4. That Playmates line, or am I wrong?
The 1989 next gen line, or are you talking about the bulkier?
Maybe these are like First Contact 96. Looks like maybe they're actually 6.
The First Contact figures are not 3.75 inch. They're probably
figures.
like 5 or 6 inch. Yeah.
Yeah. That's too
And
bad.
the main Playmate ones are the same scale as like the Dick Tracy figures or the Ninja Turtles figures of that era.
Okay,
So like 1992 Ninja Turtles.
Inch.
Yeah, whatever that. I think Ninja Turtles are 5 inch,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure. But it's like that same scale of like kind of
a little bit taller than 3
stocky.
3/4.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Playmates made a ton of next gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, movie figures.
Yeah.
Like there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different characters from that line. That was a very robust and very successful line.
I like that
of figures in the 90s.
I like that a lot of the accessories for all these characters are the same. So
yeah,
they didn't have to ever reprint accessories.
Yeah,
same exact stuff on all of them.
Yeah, somebody did make like I think it's like one wave of like 8 figures of next gen 3.75 inch. Like they literally look like the reaction figures, or like if Kenner had made them in that same scale, and they all had like a phaser molded into their hand, and I think that they might have come with an accessory like a tricorder or something. I don't remember. It's been a long time. I had the Picard.
Data. He's got a phaser in his hand.
Yeah, they all had that. I think that they might have made a Ferengi. I think that maybe that was the only villain that they had made, maybe. Wow. But I can't remember. But like
I love staring at stuff while you're talking. I would keep looking at stuff as you bring it up. Yeah. I'm like, what's a Ferengi look like?
But I had the Picard and the Data and the Geordi, and unfortunately the comic shop that I was getting my figures from sold out before I could get Worf. I really wanted Worf. He was the last figure that was on my must-have list, but I didn't have enough money to get them all at once, and he was gone by the time I got around to it. So.
In our ever going series here, a new series of What Were They Thinking? What do you think this guy on eBay was thinking? He's selling 2 reaction figures together. One is Spock. The other is Snake Plissken. What? How do you get? How do you get
you can
those
put
two
Snake
together?
Plissken with anybody, and he goes well because Snake Plissken is awesome.
I just don't know how you end up with Snake Plissken and Spock in the same lot of figures.
I'd buy that 2-pack.
I'm considering it. It's not expensive. I'm looking at it.
80s icons.
Yeah.
The search for Snake Plissken and the search for Spock.
I think his jacket comes off. I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe
Snakes?
not.
I don't
can't
know.
tell if Snake's jacket comes off.
I don't think I think it's all molded. I don't think
be
Snake
molded, which
Plissken's-
means there's another Snake Plissken figure with no jacket.
I think Kyle Reese is the only one who has a jacket that comes off that I can think of off the top of my head. He has like, you remember the Endor Han, the Kenner Endor Han who had the like cloth trench coat?
Yeah.
So they have like that exact same. It's not camouflage, but they have that exact same trench coat that goes
I'm looking
on
at it right
Kyle
now.
Reese for Terminator. Yeah.
Dude.
But other than that, I don't think any of them have any clothing that comes off.
Oh my god, this is great. Oh, it's the whole trench coat. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's one without it? Or
They have a really good.
He's got a shirt on too.
Yeah, they've had a really good run with a lot of. Now it's going to be pretty expensive. I was able to pick up most of the Terminator and most of that stuff on clearance because like they'd come out at Target or whatever, and I just kind of keep an eye on it and get the figures for like $6-7 on clearance. But like it could be kind of pricey for you to go back and get a lot of the older stuff that's out of print now.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
like
it looks
Super
like
7 just makes a ton of figures in like if you go to their website and you look at their properties, like they probably
insane.
have 40 different properties that they're making 3 3/4 inch figures in right now that are in print.
Yeah. The quality has clearly gone up. These Terminator figures' faces are interesting.
Yeah. Well, and so a funny thing was I was in, what was I in? Like an FYE or something, and they had the like chrome, the no skin version of just the skeleton version of the Terminator.
Okay.
And in the chrome, but his leg was broken. Like in the bubble, you could see that he had broken in shipping, and his leg was broken.
Oh no.
And so it was like $2. But I was like,
sounds like you should
this
take
works.
his legs off
Right.
and make him
This
crawl.
works for me. Right, exactly. I'm like, this works perfectly for having him be the version that is broken after they blow him up in the truck. So like after they like stick the bomb in his hip.
bomb in him, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I will buy that for $2. Like,
Sure.
absolutely. Give me that. Give me that Chrome Terminator. So yeah.
Nice. And on that note,
Yeah. But it is definitely, it can be a very slippery slope if you
let it
get in there. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get, like I was saying, I'm probably gonna get some of those Star Trek reaction figures.
I'm staring at him right now.
But otherwise, I really try to not get crazy about the reaction stuff because there's a lot of stuff that I could definitely be like. I mean, they do a lot of stuff that I don't really care about, but then there's also a lot of properties that are sort of like on the periphery.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I could really, I mean, and there's like, I don't know, probably 40 aliens figures, like the, different versions of the xenomorphs and like all the Marines and like the Nostromo crew. There's like Ripley in the spacesuit. Yeah. I'm like, it gets very expensive very quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
because they're also not cheap figures. I think that the Star Trek ones have gone up to like $18 retail.
Yeah, they're expensive. I mean, just on their website is $18. Yeah, and if you're trying to get them through eBay or something else, because I don't think they're out of print though. I don't know if they're out of print, but no, they're still in print on their website. But yeah, $18 retail if you want them straight from Reaction. So I got to wait. Maybe I might have to wait for like what I did with MotU this year. Just wait for the sale to hit.
They sell reaction stuff at Target. It's back in the section where it's like the pop culture stuff, not in the toys.
Oh,
and
okay. Because I looked in the toys and I was like, I don't see this reaction stuff that Ken was
just
sending me.
Every time you're in Target, just kind of swing by back there
I don't know where
And,
that is
like,
in my
look, and
Target.
it's usually like at the back of the store,
Okay.
and there's like a bunch of Stranger Things stuff, and
Is it by
like,
video games? Is that what's the deal is? They don't put it near the toys?
yeah, it's like the back wall. So if you go to like books and video games and movies, it's like in most Targets, it's like the back wall, right, like behind that, and they have
Okay.
like T-shirts and Funko
Yes.
Pops. And,
Okay.
and
So it's in
and,
there. That's weird.
Yeah,
I didn't
and
look at it in toys.
just kind of swing by every time you're in Target and see what's on clearance,
Yeah.
because then you can get them for like half price, and then they're $8
$8
reaction
is
is
eight
much more
bucks is
palatable.
stomachable. Yeah.
Yeah.
$8 is what they should be. Unfortunately, they can't be, obviously, because they're produced for a niche market, and a lot of people don't even open them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would take a Guinan action figure. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. Does she have the phaser molded into her hand?
No,
Good.
none of the Super 7 ones do.
Okay,
But
good.
there is a 1994 Guinan from Star Trek Generations that looks pretty good too. Picard looks like he has a phaser, not molded. So none of them are molded, but
Okay.
looks like Crusher, Worf, Data, and Picard can all hold a phaser, and then there's a Borg whose hand looks like it could hold a phaser but doesn't have one. It's molded to hold one for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to pick up that Worf because, like I said, it always kind of
missed
bugged
Worf.
me that I was never able to get him. I wish that they had Geordi. I hope that they make a second wave and that there's a Geordi in it, because then I can get all of the.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
it's good. It's good. So
But yeah, there is a
it's
Ferengi. I'm pretty sure I saw the
This is
Ferengi.
a deep hole, man. We can get down into, There's Q. I see Q. He looks good. He's
Oh,
got
man,
his
somebody on
original
Mercari
outfit.
has. Yeah, somebody on Mercari has the exact set that I was going for sale right now. It's a Geordi. Oh no, that's Riker. That's not Data. It's Riker. Never
Oh,
mind.
you want the yellow suits, huh? You just want all the yellow suits?
Yeah.
But
Well, no, because Picard's got a red suit.
And Worf early on has a red one, not a yellow one,
Yeah.
right? Or does he
Yeah.
change to red later? I can't remember which direction it goes. He has yellow and then red, or red and then yellow. I can't remember.
He's got red with the gold sash
Right,
in this figure that they're showing. I thought that was not Riker, but it was Data, but it's not. So.
Nice. Okay, well, if I break down and buy a bunch, we'll talk about it next time. But until then, thanks for joining me, Kit, on Carbon Scoring. People can find us on the YouTubes and the anywhere podcasts are. Podcast at wewergamers.com if you want to chime in with your thoughts on Prodigy. Positive thoughts on Progeny? Star Trek Progeny. Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
what it is.
Now you sound like Dreadnought.
I know I am Progeny. He's
Or not
good.
Dreadnought, Diviner. He's the one who
Diviner.
calls her
Yeah.
Progeny. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
My
both
Progeny.
good. They're good bad
Yeah.
guys. They're good bad
They are.
guys. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
But thank you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, sure.